Hey, good morning, Shining Light Baptist Church family and our Facebook friends. Going to jump right into it. Um, Rather than give it the subject matter, just a topic per se, I'm just going to talk about a story in Second Kings, chapter number 11. It's a story about Ahaziah and his mother Athaliah and Ahaziah's sister Jehosheba, and ultimately Joash. And it's a story that really is relevant to right now in politics. And then there's going to be people that say, well, separation of church and state, separation of church and state. Preachers and churches shouldn't talk about politics. Well, I don't put signs out in front of our church. We can't do that. But separation of church and state, this is a side message. This is free. Separation of church and state is not in our Constitution, though it is a belief that we hold, but a lot of people don't even know what it means. Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, render unto God the things that are God's. Jesus said that. But separation of church and state was a phrase used in the speech by Thomas Jefferson. And basically, that's why America started. They were tired of religious persecution from the state-run church. And separation of church and state just means that the state cannot dictate or tell, or make a state religion or tell the churches what to do. But it never meant that churches could not influence the state. So this idea that you can't pray on public property because that's a violation of church and state is a bunch of baloney. Separation of church and state, that statement Jefferson made in that speech, was never intended that church couldn't influence. So therefore, and historically, if you look at real history that liberals try to hide, many preachers influenced politics in the 1700s and 1800s and even 1900s. So let me debunk that lie right away. But this is a story. It's a sad story. So Ahaziah died. He was a wicked king of Judah. He was the son-in-law of Ahab, king of Israel. And Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, when she saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons which were slain. And they hid him, even him and his nurse, in the bedchamber from Athaliah, so that he was not slain. And he was with her hid in the house of the Lord 6 years, and Athaliah did reign over the land. 6 years this poor child had to be hid from his wicked grandmother. 6 years in hiding. And she had all of his siblings slaughtered. There's no excuse for that. And then, when it was time for the priest to reveal that Joash was going to be crowned the king of Judah, Athaliah comes in and she says in verse 14, "Treason, treason." Isn't it interesting that the people that shout treason are the ones guilty themselves? And her day came. You know, I say all that because it's very discouraging to watch politics. It seems like wicked people have double standards and get away with things, and the flesh is tempted to moan and complain and to get angry. And sometimes we react in the flesh. But let me remind you, Asaph said in Psalm 73, he said, "They are corrupt and they speak wickedly." And he was talking about people that seem like they get away with wickedness. He said in verse 17, "Until I went into the sanctuary of God, then understood I their end. Surely thou didst set them in slippery places. Thou castest them down unto destruction." The wicked crowd has got their day coming. Just be aware of that and understand that. We as God's people have to be busy about our Father's business. And that is planting churches, seeing people get saved, discipling them into maturity, and they keep reproducing themselves. We're to live and do all things to the glory of God. Are we to be involved in the affairs of the state? Yes, we are to influence them, but we cannot retaliate. You say, well, they're retaliating. Well, I do believe in self-defense, But we're not going to go out and blow a Planned Parenthood building up. That's not biblical. That's not right. We need to pray for those people to get saved. But it seems like the wicked, just like Athaliah, it seems like they're the ones that commit treason. She killed all the seed royal. That's against the law. But yet she cries treason, treason. So don't be surprised if you see politicians say treason to those who try to do right, when in reality they're probably the ones guilty of treason. So what is a Christian to do? We're to pray for them. We're to be bold. We're not to cower in fear. We're to be bold as a lion. We're to continue to do what God has called us to do. And then we must trust God and leave vengeance and the things like vengeance up to Him, because God is a righteous judge, and He will take it. He will take care of those that oppress and lie and corrupt, etc. And so let's just go to the house of the Lord. And when you go to God's house, you get uplifted. You get encouraged many times. And a lot of times we want to stay home and wallow in self-pity and worry about the election and worry about this. Hey, listen, God's got it all under control. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to pray for those folk. I'm going to keep being bold. I'm going to keep doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to let the chips fall where they may and trust God to handle all that. That's what a Christian ought to do. And that's Light for the Day. God bless you.